Ever since the year began in the new school I went to for middle school, I stood out for reasons I won't get into in this video. It often led to certain problems, but for the most part, it was nothing I couldn't handle or hadn't experienced before. As the weeks passed, I slowly came in good terms. I wouldn't say friends, but good terms with a good portion of my peers in every class except Italian and art. But we're here to talk about Italian because this is clearly an Italian channel. Italian was one of my favorite classes in middle school. We had this really sweet teacher who not a lot of children seemed to like since she was strict on the outside. I think she was aware of their stupidity towards me. I'd say I was more friends with her than any of the other kids. Most of them were loud and rude and unruly and extroverted, all things I couldn't stand at the time, so needless to say, it added to me not fitting in. There were two girls, one who I knew from Group A classes. She changed classes later in the year, but I still saw her in homeroom in Italian. We were, it seemed, the shyest in the class. Those two girls were already friends, I'm pretty sure, but they let me sit with them, and I thought at the time we got along. The girl from homeroom and I were once in a round of who can translate this word to Italian the fastest, and we were pretty good at it then, so the teacher gave us harder things, and we just stared at each other with no idea. The teacher tried a few more cards, both garnering the same blank stares, and eventually she sent us away for the next set of people. Italian was fun. Speed forward in the year, and the girl I knew from homeroom starts sitting away from me and her friend. We're both confused for the lesson, and it happens again the next time, only this time it's both of them. They got themselves nicely tucked with a group that absolutely hated me. I didn't care for them, but when I tried sitting next to those girls, the group obviously wouldn't let me. So I settled on. I didn't mind, and one of the classroom changes meant we'd all be sitting sort of alone. I preferred studying that way, instead of the distractions and rude jokes. But when it came time for paired activities, I'd mostly end up ignored, unless it was a forced participation. There was a girl who sat at the table next to mine. She was really good at drawing, and sometimes would speak, but I don't remember her much, so I guess that was the extent of us knowing each other. A friend from homeroom had a friend in Italian class, and I got along with him too, but I don't remember talking with him much in Italian class. Even breathing in that class was a stress. I just tried to zone out and ignore the idiot soccer boys who kept bothering me. I stayed in my corner. A new girl joined the school late in the year. I wanted her to feel welcome, so I jumped on the chance to teach her what we had already learned in Italian class, and the teacher agreed. So, for that class and maybe the next few, I don't really remember, I taught her the best I could. I don't know if I actually taught her anything useful, but I did my best and offered to keep teaching her and letting her see my notes during break time. She agreed, but always pushed it off, and I never seemed to find her out of the class. For a while, again, I knew her in class, and I think in all the weird and random changes that's hard to remember well, someone I knew from my old homeroom also joined. I knew at some point me and the new girl and someone else did a presentation that didn't go as well as I planned. Or maybe she was there the entire time? Maybe not. I don't fully remember, so I won't tie that down in stone. But the presence of people I knew wouldn't prove to be positive in the future. Italian class was great, really. I learned so much from that teacher, and we even got to make spaghetti from scratch. One time, far in the year, there was a sort of competition, and I was super prepared for it. I practiced every day, and with confidence, walked into that room with 4 judges and nobody else. I was ready. Until my mother decided to come along with me, shattering me with confusion, and I started crying. It was unfortunate. I'm sure I would have cried a little at the end if I had been alone, but this was full out bawling, and everyone in the room was under the impression that I was a shy, scared little kid. As much as I tried, I couldn't get a single word out, especially when Mother decided it was a great idea to hug me and put me on her lap, no matter how much I pushed her away. I had prepared myself to be in a professional setting, to go in, speak those lines I'd tirelessly rehearsed for so long, to only those strangers, and get out. It might seem like I was overreacting by that small change. Maybe I was. But it was a really big difference to me to have someone I knew, another judge who, if I messed up in front of, would carry it in their memories for as long as they knew me. And let me tell you, mothers tend to last a little longer than random strangers, usually. The judges were about to say it was okay, I could go, and my mother was about to pull me to the door. But I couldn't just throw away all my work till then. Tears streaming down my face, I pushed away one last time and turned to the judges. What came out from my mouth must have been babble. I probably only remembered a quarter of the marvelous speech I had prepared. I left, absolutely broken, and I remember seeing one of my closest friends who was there for a Japanese version of the competition. And I thought if only I was older, I'd be trusted to go alone, and maybe I would have had the chance to actually win. But of course, there in my hands later was a mere participation award card. Utter garbage. But life went on. Days passed, my best friend left me, and I was given news that would move very soon. Great news. I loved moving to new places, and I'd gotten sick of the school where, for some reason, everyone just seemed to hate me more and more and went to greater lengths to make me unhappy. Now, most of the kids in my homeroom, and thus most of my classes, were pretty nice, don't get me wrong. It was my own fault that I avoided half of them. I just couldn't deal with football boys and popular girls at the time, and most of them fit that category. They were nice, just scary. It wasn't an entirely unpleasant year. Italian class was the worst of everything, and art class had free time too, but I'll not delve into that now. I remember the moment that really broke me then. Things at home dipped into a nice lowness, and on that day, I just didn't have the energy to deal with. The moment I stepped foot through those gates, the stares and glares and whispers and the stupid jokes and calls and rumors, oh, the baseless rumors. I had Italian class that day, which I dreaded, and even worse, there was a substitute teacher, so my nice strict teacher wasn't even there to stop whatever nonsense the children could think up. That new student I'd gotten along with? Yeah, she'd gone to the group that hated me too. It seemed half the entire class was there, the other half being the rude soccer boys who sat at the next table, leaving two other tables. At one, two girls who I had rarely spoken with the entire year, but knew them to be really sweet, and one time I paid them cookies to be my bodyguards. And the last table, which wasn't actually empty when I first sat there, but it magically turned empty a second later. I don't remember why I sat that way, but I had my back turned from the front. I'll pop an image up on screen to sort of explain it. The substitute teacher wasn't an Italian teacher, I don't think, so we were made to do tasks on our own, so there was no need to look his way. It was okay. I just get through this class, then the next, then deal with the break, then the next class, so on. Then soon I'd be able to go home, deal with whatever would happen there, deal with homework, and finally be able to hide in bed and hopefully get some sleep. I'd been doing that for so long. This was just one more day. Clawing in through those thoughts, through my focus of those tasks, were voices that came from all around. My head burned, knowing all the eyes I couldn't see were looking straight into me. I heard the words they said about me. It was nothing new. I could take it. It was just one more day. But this time I couldn't. I got up and looked straight at the group and yelled at them that I was not what they just said, which I probably shouldn't say here. The teacher immediately jumped in to tell me to sit down, to be quiet, and didn't care when I tried to tell him what they were saying. Granted, who could take seriously a child who pointed fingers and made claims that practically everyone else denied? That they laughed too. It was far easier to say one was a liar than an entire class. I caught the eyes of the two girls I had sat with so long ago, the girl I had helped. Everyone continued to stare my way as the teacher demanded I sit, and, tired, I did. I couldn't handle it. The entire year had drained me of any strength I had left, and as I looked down at my book, tears just wouldn't stop falling. It was just another day. It was always just another day. This moment in Italian class wasn't something new. I'd probably feel worse and not be able to recover as quickly if it was. I probably wouldn't have been able to lie. Those two girls came to sit next to me when they noticed I was crying. They offered to take me to the bathroom, but I don't think the substitute teacher allowed it, so they just sat with me. It honestly cheered me up a little. Still, it was a horrible feeling, making such sweet people worry over me. When we were out of the class, maybe we were allowed out early, I honestly don't remember. I buried my tears in a smile and told them it was okay. I wasn't actually sad. I was just pretending or something of that sort. I don't know if they believed me. At home, I told my parents of a short version of what happened in the class, leaving out mention of the substitute and turning the rumors to just a single instance of them bad-talking me. The moment I said I cried, they got mad and said I was weak and I had to be strong and I'd be seen as a worthless little child in the school, and they'd kick me out. So again I lied and told them what I told those girls. They accepted it as strength, as control over the situation, and I was safe. There wasn't a lot of time left before we moved. I don't remember much about the rest of the Italian classes, or if that was my last one. I guess I just wanted to shake free of that almost year. I ended up throwing out my exercise books, which turned out to be disappointing, since I wanted to get back into Italian a year or so later. Now I use Duolingo, a glorious language learning site that... Just kidding. I'm obviously not sponsored by anyone. Anyway, that's the not-so-bright story of my Italian class. I hope you enjoyed listening. Bye-bye.